Multiplying radicals. To multiply radicals, multiply the outside numbers, place outside the radical, multiply the inside numbers and place inside the radical, simplify the radical if possible. I was actually not taught I was not taught that way. In fact, I was always taught to prime factorization things and deal with it that way. So, and then if you prime factorization, you can actually take things out as you go and you don't have to deal with large numbers. So this is square root of 5, this is square root of 2, square root of 3, because that's 6. There is nothing that's going to come out, so it is the square root of 30, and I know that it is already simplest form. This is square root of 3, square root of 2 times 2 times 2, because that's 8 is 4 times 2, there's the 4 and there's the 2. Square root of 3, and then from here, I take out the pairs. So, he lives, he dies, 2. Square root of 3 and square root of 2 are still in and become a square root of 6. 7 is prime, 2 is prime, therefore there's nothing going to come out, so that's the square root of 14. 5 times 6 is 30. This is negative 2 square root of 2 square root of 3 times 5 square root of 2 times 2 times 2. He lives, he dies, he lives, he dies, so a 4 comes out. So it's negative 2 times 4 times 5, and a square root of 3, that's negative 8 times 5, which is negative 40, square root of 3. Make sure you are not putting this in decimal format. Signs, negative times negative is a positive, 6 times 8 is 48. Square root of 2 times square root of 2 is 2, so it's 48 times 2, which is 96. Square root squared is the number. This is, you can look at it as distributive property. That's 3 squared, square root of 2 squared. That's 2. That's 9 times 2. That's 18. I'm going to merge them. That's 3 times 7 times 2. That's 7 times 3 times 3 times 3. There's your 3 times 9, which is 27. I factor it out. Oops, that 2 has to stay. Sorry. That 2 didn't have anybody to factor out because I'm dealing with a fraction. And so it's the square root of 2 doesn't come out, but that 3 comes out on the bottom. So that's 1/3 square root of 2, which is simplified to square root of 2 over 3. Now, the way they say it in the instructions is multiply 3 times 14 and 7 times 27, and then factor 42 over 189. Split it up into prime factorization. Simplify your fractions, pull out the 3, this one lives, this one dies, and then I never deal with numbers larger than 7. This is square root of 5 and square root of 1, and I'm going to extend my radical. Oops, sorry. Radical is 5 times 1 times 3 times 2 times 2 times 3. There's my 12. The 5 has to stay in. Square root of 5 has to stay in. 3 comes out, 2 dies. 2 comes out, the other 2 dies. That means there's a 6 in the denominator, and so that's square root of 5 over 6. So that is how you multiply. Anytime you can factor things out, I would do it prior. The other way they were doing it is, this is the alternate method. combine the radical, 5 times 1, 3 times 12, square root of 5 over square root of 36, square root of 36 is 6. So it's still the same answer. I don't do it that way because I don't like dealing with large numbers. I squish it together, put it in prime factorization, simplify the fraction, take them out of the radicals because they have to come out in groups of 2. That is how you multiply radicals.